Back with another video. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Mankind's favorite disease is Excusitis. Now, excuse me, I had something in my eye. Now that might sound like an oxymoron. Like, wait, those are two opposites. Like, how can you have a disease and like it? Now, a disease, if you don't, everybody knows what disease is. Basically, when something's not functioning right in the body, there's an issue that's preventing a function from occurring. So, how could you like that, right? People like Excusitis, aka making excuses, because it helps them externalize their problems or externalize their issues, or put put where they should be taking responsibility outwards, so that they don't have to face it themselves and look into themselves and tell themselves that they're the reason why they're not where they want to be. And I've had a myriad of excuses, so many excuses I made about why I couldn't do certain things. Even this YouTube channel, like, I was like, oh, you know, all this editing, I have to get a nice camera. Not really. In fact, like, it turns out that I love editing, and, you know, I didn't really need all this fancy equipment. At least I'm not thinking about it yet. So, I mean, excuses are rampant, right? I mean, you make the smallest excuses throughout the day. I mean, obviously, because if you have about 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts a day, I'm guarantee you about 1,000 of those are excuses about something. And they can be very minor. They can range from very minor things to very large things. And again, you do them so that you really don't have to really dig deep and really ask yourself and really face that you're just making an excuse. Your ego just doesn't want to see that it's making that excuse. And this comes from limiting beliefs about your potential, maybe limiting beliefs on whether or not you can actually accomplish a goal that you set out to do, limiting belief as far as if it's worth it, worth the hassle, worth all the headache and all that. And when you form a belief, it's basically either through something you experienced or something you were told. You have to really understand how your beliefs formed, why you have these limiting beliefs, what caused you to have limiting beliefs about a potential outcome. Is it something you saw on TV? Did somebody tell you it's not possible? Did you tell yourself it's not possible? If you experienced it, let's say you tried out rock climbing, right? And then your goal was to go to Mount Everest one day. Let's say you tried rock climbing and then you failed at it and you gave up on your goal of going your goal of going to Mount Everest, which is a big leap, you know, from rock climbing to Mount Everest, no pun intended. So you messed up on rock climbing, you gave up on Mount Everest, but you didn't really understand that if you kept going with the rock climbing, naturally you would have gotten better and better, and maybe a few years down the line you're good enough to climb Mount Everest. But you stop yourself short, and you create a limiting belief that climbing Mount Everest will never be possible. When really, I'm pretty sure people that have climbed Mount Everest, at least the ones that were successful, I'm pretty sure they messed up a bunch of times while they were training to be on Mount Everest. And I'm sure they're really persistent with it, because I think it's like 60,000 to climb, just to climb the mountain. I'm like, 60,000 and you might die? That's crazy. But they were persistent at it. I mean, they probably made more mistakes than you, and they still probably accomplished the goal. So they didn't allow a limiting belief to cloud them. So why'd you let yourself have that limiting belief? And I read somewhere that we typically underestimate how intelligent we are, and we overestimate how intelligent other people are, which was really interesting to me. Think about that. Excuses are going to come, but you have to catch it as quickly as possible. At least that's what I try to do. I try to catch excuses as quickly as possible, and then kind of analyze them. Again, this takes self-awareness, which unfortunately the average person isn't that self-aware. It's definitely a muscle that you can practice and just keep getting better and better at. And, you know, self-awareness lends itself to identity change. Like when you want to make a difference in your life, typically people want the result without actually changing themselves. That's why there are people that are like, oh, self-help doesn't work, or improving yourself doesn't work, which baffles me, because it's kind of blanket. It's a blanket statement. Like, what do you mean it? To you, it didn't work because of a lot of variables, and to somebody else, it worked because of a lot of variables. So, like, you can't just say it doesn't work because that's way too broad, you know. And you know, excusitis comes up. Another reason it comes up and people rely on their excuses and they like their excuses is because change is uncomfortable. When you're trying to change, like let's say you're in the gym trying to build muscle, that's uncomfortable. The people that love it the most, they'll stick to it longer. But when you're in there and you're trying to work out your upper body or your lower body and get those muscle groups going and build that muscle tissue throughout time, that's uncomfortable. You're stressing your muscles out, and you have to do it consistently over a period of time. And that's just grounds for people to come up with excuses if they don't want it bad enough. They're gonna find a way to just get out of it. Oh, you know, I don't have the genetics for it, so I'm not gonna keep doing it. Oh, it's Tuesday, just got off work, I'm tired, I'm gonna go home. Oh, I want to go to Brian's birthday party, I'll skip the gym. Things like that. And that's how sneaky it is, right? But again, it comes down to what you prioritize. The greatest people, they make the least amount of excuses and they fail the most amount of times. That's a huge takeaway. If you don't remember anything else from this video, if you click off and then like forget everything I just said, remember that the most successful people, they make the least amount of excuses and they fail the most, and that's why they're successful. Key takeaway. And that's something I want to embody as well. There's something called failing forward, which I'm a huge advocate of, because when you first start something off, I mean, you're not going to be the best at it. Like my first videos, I didn't think they were that great, and they're getting better in my opinion. When you're a baby, the way you were walking as a baby is a joke compared to how you walk now. You're a professional walker compared to a baby, right? So it's things like that. And going back to limiting beliefs, again, I made a video on projection. People will project their limiting beliefs onto you, so that's how you might pick up some of their limiting beliefs and think it's yours. Well, it becomes yours, but it originally came from them, but you allowed them, you made an agreement with it. You can't have a belief without an agreement with it. Every belief you have, every belief you have, or will have, comes down to an agreement you make with that belief. Another big excuse people have is that they're not smart enough. They think, oh, they don't have enough high IQ points for something. They can't do a goal like wanting to be a doctor or wanting to be really good at the violin. They just don't think they're smart enough. And in this book, The Magic of Thinking Big, Dr. David Schwartz really talks about how he knows some of the most intelligent people, yet those people, they will use their limiting beliefs, right? Like they will take their limiting beliefs that they have and they will use their brains or their intelligence to reinforce those limiting beliefs. So it's almost even worse. Like they have limiting beliefs and they're so intelligent, right? Like they can find evidence of things. So they find evidence of why they can't do something and they reinforce it so strongly with points after points after excuse as to why they can't do something. And they have these like logical and all these bullet point proofs as why they can't do something, which, you know, it's nice. It's good to be logical. It's good to be, okay, be real. But what about the other side? So you can't be pessimistic about everything. You must have goals of some kind. So if you have goals of being successful in something, why don't you use your mental faculties in that case to show why you can do something well, right? That's very key. Understand that if you think you can't do something because you're not smart enough, there are people that are super intelligent that still have limiting beliefs and still aren't getting things done because they're using their intelligence to kind of diminish where they want to go. So I'm going to end this with a quote from the book. It says, quote, "Just enough sense to stick with something, a chore, task, project, until it's completed pays off much better than idle intelligence, even if idle intelligence be of genius caliber. For stickability is 95% of ability." Whew, that was fire. That was fire. I like that quote. Replay this video if you have to. Excusitis. It's rampant. It's a disease. I don't have the cure for it yet. Maybe in the future. But this video is a great introduction of understanding it. With that, I conclude this video. Guys, take care of yourselves. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already.